time to leave Wyoming today. It's a bit sad because we've enjoyed Wyoming. Where we're going today is into Colorado. We're going to go Rocky Mountain High. There is a change of plans compared to what was on our itinerary. We were going to go across the Trail Ridge Road, but the Trail Ridge Road is still not open through traffic because they've had so much snow, so much late season snow, and the snow drifts are still very deep at the top of the ridge. So what we're going to do is go back through Laramie, head south towards Granby, and then go up the west side of the Trail Ridge Road as far as we can. So we're looking forward to seeing Colorado. We're looking forward to seeing some of the mountains that John Denver sang about. Our ultimate goal at the end of the day is to be at Colorado Springs. So let's get going.
Leaving Cheyenne, we again headed west toward Laramie on I-80. Starting out, the countryside was surrounded by dense fog with very low temperatures, eventually leading to blue skies and a freezing cold, strong wind. That's Wyoming's way of giving us a farewell message to remember.
We're at a place called the Lincoln Monument, which is between Cheyenne and Laramie. It's quite cold here, we're at a higher elevation. This monument commemorates the connecting of the Lincoln Highway, which was the first transcontinental highway linking east and west of the United States. It's an interesting thing because the wagon trails, the Oregon Trail where the wagons used to come along, where people were migrating west to the frontier, was in the similar area of Wyoming. And then you've got the Transcontinental Highway, the Union Pacific, which was the first railway connecting East and West America, and then the highway. It was an economic boom for the whole of the United States. People could travel and there was an opening of trade along this way. Then in the 1950s, President Eisenhower had the Highway Act linking all the cities by interstate. And so America has one of the best highway systems in the world, and we're really recognizing that as we travel around the states, how much better that is than Australia. I wish we had more connected highways in Australia and more connected railways as well. So the Lincoln Memorial, the start of the connected highways in America. From Laramie, we turned south and travelled through more of Wyoming's beautiful landscapes to reach the Colorado state line.
So we're on our way to Colorado Springs, on the way into Colorado, and there's these massive areas of these pine forests that are just burnt out. I'm not sure how long ago the fires happened. As far as we can see, they're just burnt pine forests. Such a shame. We're in Colorado!
Okay, so as I said this morning, there's been a change of plans. One of the things that happened with that change of plans is that it mucked up our timing for our travel. So we did have timed access. So to get onto the Trail Ridge Road at this time of year, you need to have timed access. So they break up the entry of the vehicles so that it's not so clogged up at the entryways. And we had a timed access from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. And if we didn't make it in that time, then we've missed our access. And so we've missed our access because we've had to detour to a different way. That means that now to get into the park, we can't actually enter until 2 p.m. And after 2 p.m, you don't need the timed access. So we're going to try and stop at some of these towns. We're not sure what they're like. We're not sure what's at them. We're not even sure what we will look at. So you know as much as we do at the moment at this stage of the video of what's actually going on. So the scenery here is beautiful. We've just entered Colorado, as you just saw. We've got snowy mountains on the horizon again. right, so we're somewhere here on the back hills of Colorado. We're at about 8,000 feet in elevation. We just took a little detour off this little village or town or whatever it's called. I don't even remember what the town's called. And we met these lovely ladies who gave us some directions. They told us that about 9 miles down the road, there's another town called Walden, which we could walk the main street and have a look in some of their stores and just see what life is like in small town Colorado. As you can see behind me, hopefully, there's some beautiful snowy mountains. So we're at Rocky Mountain High, and we're hoping that if we get up the part of the Trail Ridge Road, we could get to just over 10,000 feet. So we're going to experience a little bit more elevation that neither of us have ever experienced before. So it'll be interesting. Let's go and see what Walden has to offer and see what small town Colorado is like.
So going down the back road, we come into Walden, and one of the first things we saw was this sign here. So just going to find out what this is all about and just going to find out what it's about. All right, so we've popped into the Walden Museum. Just had a quick chat with Rick, who's at the front desk here, and I asked him if I could touch the bear skin, because we've seen these in the distance. We've never actually touched one. So it is so thick. The fur is soft. It's so thick. And the claws, wow. I don't want to touch his teeth, but I'll give him a scratch on the head. Looks like Yogi Bear.
Not as friendly, I reckon.
So once a year, A-Town gets to donate the Christmas tree for the nation's capital, Washington. And in 1990, it was Walden's turn to donate the tree. The interesting thing is that this totem pole here is made from that tree. So they send the tree down, they use it at Christmas, they return the tree, and then it's used for other things. Totem pole made out of that tree, as well as the chairs out the front, and there's a little sign in the local park as well that also highlights the National Capital Christmas Tree, Walden 1990.
So look at that, the logo for the Christmas tree was designed by the 5th grade and their teacher, Mrs. S. Karlstrup. They must have felt really honoured, and that being sent to Washington.
So back in 1990, that was a huge thing, providing that tree for Washington. Back here, there's a whole newspaper page on it, and the population back then was 879 people.
That's a pretty big thing being sent to Washington then, isn't it?
Yeah. And they're selling caps. There's a whole heap. It must have been a massive thing for this town. Yeah. And then in the same year, they get Logger of the Year.
Logger of the Year.
So in the same year, 1990, they got James Knoll got the Logger of the Year.
Fern.
So those claws are huge, and they've still got a sharp edge to them. I don't know how long this bearskin's been here for, but... And the teeth, literally, that is so sharp still. This one here is so sharp. This is a really cool little museum. So from when you drive up, it's quite deceiving. There's just one sort of log home building, and then you go downstairs, because he said there were over 30 rooms in this museum, and I was thinking, oh, I know where you hide 30 rooms. But you come down into like the basement area, it's just a massive area. We're in the basement area now with all the mining gear and all the saddles and stuff like that. So yeah, this is really a big museum. Brought from Alaska. These are from Alaska. So these are what they call bellows. They would often use these in blacksmith shops. So because when you're fabricating metal, you need to get really, really hot. So your bellows acts like a fan. Yeah, the air gets blown through here, channeled through this part. I mean, there's the next. In fact, that would have been where the air literally came out. That one hasn't got the nozzle. That one does. Whenever I come to museums, I love seeing all these old tools. I have a trade that I did 30 years ago. I'm a wood machinist by trade, but most of my trade was done on big machines. And so the big machines would shape the timber, and then that would make the joins, and then the cabinet makers would assemble them. But these old hand tools, these were before my trade. So they would be making all those different shapes and joins, and then they would assemble them. So this is pre my trade. Fascinating to see. Yeah, an old drill bit, mortise maker maybe, something like that, or a tenon. And these types of things would have been used to make wooden spokes, on wood wheels. Spoke shape, I think. I've done a little bit of snow skiing about 20 years ago, but I've never seen skis like this, just raw timber, and then a leather sort of buckle to put your shoes in. That is amazing to see old traditional skis like that. This is interesting, an ice saw. So I guess the ice gets pretty thick here in Walden. So this is, I'm not sure what they made in this, but it's a copper steel. So most of the time, alcohol is made in a steel. So it could have been moonshine maybe, I don't know. But yeah, that's an old classic steel. So again, an old tool. This is a grinding wheel. I'm not sure if they would have sharpened tools on this or not, but amazing that it still works. You would sit on the seat and your feet would use those pedals to get it going. Another really old tool. I've never seen one this big before, but again, an old drill. So you crank that handle and use the other wheels to make your drill go down. But the way you get that to spin, in my understanding, is to crank that wheel. So I found another bear skin. This one's a small one, but this is the softest one. And so, like, my fingers just get lost in there. Like, that's how thick it is. So soft. So this wall plaque is done by wood burning. Back in the day when I was in primary school, we used to do wood burning as like a craft type thing. So you'd use your magnifying glass to burn into stuff, but I always got in trouble because I was always starting fires rather than doing decorative work like this. This is a bobcat skin. It's got a short tail, and it's just like patting your pet cat, just like patting your pet cat. Soft, beautiful. Red fox, again, really long, really soft fur, and his tail, beautiful. It's so soft. That Christmas tree didn't go to waste. When they returned it back to Walden, it was made into that totem pole, and these bench seats are throughout town. So that was Walden. The town in 2022 had a population of 570 odd people, so it's still holding its population. But we're going to grab some lunch down at Granby, the next town along the road, so let's go and see what Granby's got to offer.
I actually really like that town. It reminded me of the town I was born in. I was born in a small town. Population there is about 800 people, I think. So what I really got a sense of in that town, so there is a funeral going on today of someone who seems to be a well-known local. Everyone was talking about it and really got a sense of the community and the connectedness of that town. So these small towns, they're worth stopping at. Don't just blow through them. If you really got some time, take some time to stop, go into a museum or a store, have a chat to someone. You find out some really great things about these towns.
So we've stopped at a really, really nice looking rest area again. Good facilities, beautiful view of this lake. So for lunch again, really simple. Ham, cheese, bread, Diet Pepsi.
Okay, so this reservoir that's behind us here where we've stopped for lunch is called the Windy Gap Reservoir. And the exciting thing is, I was just looking at Google Maps and it's on the Colorado River. The Colorado River starts up there in the Rocky Mountains where we're about to go, but this is our first sighting of the Colorado River, so that's pretty exciting for us. We're going to be seeing a lot more of the Colorado River in episodes to come, but this is just the start.
So we entered the Rocky Mountain National Park, and as you can see, the bushfires have come through here on the Grand Lake side, just as far as you can see. But it opens it up so you can see wildlife. So we're hoping to see quite a bit of wildlife. And we did. Not long after entering the park, we came across this moose and her baby on the roadside.
We were grateful we could still climb up to 10,400 feet on the western side of the Trail Ridge Road. And what a beautiful drive it is.
So we made it to the top as far as we can go. From here on, the road is closed. Oh, so it's 10,400 feet or over 3 Ks high. So that's pretty cool. It's the highest we've ever been. It's a beautiful view. There's the frozen lake just down here, which is just starting to thaw out. And it's really hard to see on camera, but as you look up through the hills, up towards the big rocks, there are just these footprints of animals just walking where they've walked through. Looks really nice. But when you touch the ice, just before we took the photo, it feels like a slushy. It's really frozen, hard sort of icy stuff.
That was Trail Ridge Road. As you could see, it was closed. because of snow that they've had recently. The sad thing is that it looks like it could open in the next day or two, so we might have only just missed it. But we have an itinerary, we have a limited time here, and we have to keep moving on to the rest of our bucket list. But it was great to get that far. We got to 10,700 feet, as Scott had said, which is around 3,300 or 3,400 metres. That makes it about 1,000 metres higher than Mount Kosciuszko. Now, if you're not an Australian, you probably keep wondering, why is she talking about Mount Kosciuszko? Well, Mount Kosciuszko at 2,300-ish metres is the highest peak in Australia. So we have repeatedly gone higher than that in the United States. So that gives you an idea of how low the mountains are in Australia. Where we live in the mountains of northern New South Wales, I think the highest peak is around 1,600 metres, which is just between 4,000 and 5,000 feet. So we're well and truly way above our home level. We're well and truly above Mount Kosciuszko. We're having lots of new experiences for ourselves. We've managed that altitude okay, and I think that's because we've been at altitude pretty much the whole time that we've been here, between 3,500 feet to now 10,700 feet. So we seem to be doing all right. In our next episode, that we have a plan to go up to 14,000 feet if weather permits, and that will really test us out. It's been a good day. We've had change of plans, but it's working out. We've seen some great things, and it's so cool to be here in Rocky Mountain High, Colorado. Okay, so in the background there, you can see a little creek thing in the field there. That little creek is actually the Colorado River. So we're at the upper reaches. The Colorado River starts a little bit further up the mountains there. We're at the upper reaches of the Colorado River. So as I mentioned before, not the next episode, but in the episodes to come down the track, we're going to be seeing a fair bit of the Colorado River as at the places that we go to. So it'll be interesting to see it getting bigger and bigger and how it impacts the landscape. It's an important part of the environment and the economy of the southwest United States. And it's like the Darling River in Australia. It's a river that is under a lot of pressure from agriculture, tourism, and all those kinds of things. So it's really cool to see this important river right up at its starting points. And it's a beautiful location here in the Rocky Mountains.
We stumbled across more moose grazing in the fields along the side of the road. We stopped here for a while, and Heather grabbed these shots with her 500mm lens. How amazing is this?
All right, so we are now on our way to Colorado Springs, where we will be spending the next few days. We are heading south from Granby and climbing over mountains to 11,000 feet, and then back down to reach the I-70 and skirt around Denver down to Colorado Springs. Reaching the I-70 was a rude awakening to the high-density population, which we hadn't seen for all the weeks we'd been travelling in the Northwest states. On top of that, we drove through an afternoon storm before finally making it to our Airbnb. In our next episode, we will tackle Pikes Peak. Until then, look after your mates.